Alright, ready? Look at that, guys. This bolt back here, completely loose. Isn't it nuts? Alright, so I checked the rack and pinion. It seems like it's tight. The lower control arm, seat length are tight. I tightened up all the bolts on the subframe, whatever I could. This one in this corner right here, it's done for. Okay, it's already all mangled up. The captive nut inside the frame, there's nothing you can do with it. So I'm hoping that by tightening down the subframe and with the new front engine mount on, actually holding the engine now, it reduces a lot of the noise that we had going on up front. And let's lift up the rear end and try to focus on this gasoline leak for the last time. All right, so this is the nylon line coming out of the fuel tank. You can see it turns into a steel line right there. Now I've already gone ahead and chopped it off because it was leaking somewhere over here. I got it going into a rubber hose. You can see the rubber hose right there. It's looping around the exhaust. But the problem is where that rubber hose was connected on the end of this seal pipe, you can see it's all rusty and crusty. So of course it wasn't going to be a good seal, and that's exactly where it's leaking from. So no problem, right? Take the line off the rubber hose and take the line off of the quick disconnect right there and put a new, copper line, right? No big issue. The problem is I can't get this to separate, and I've been trying for some time now. I know how it comes off. I know you gotta, press in that yellow locking tab, but the problem is with all the corrosion and just it doesn't want to come out. I feel like by the time I'm done messing with this quick connect is going to be destroyed. So I'm trying to weigh out my options here because I do have the Dorman fuel line repair kit. So I'm wondering if I want to just cut the line right here, completely cut off this quick connect fitting, and then press in another one. The problem with this is you only have so much line to work with, and you can see it's very short length and it's tucked inside of here. All right, so it turns out that the Dorman tool is gonna fit up there, so I just went ahead and chopped off the quick connect right at the nylon right there. So I'm committed now. There's no going back. This thing has to get fixed. So let's see if we could press on a new fitting onto the existing nylon line. All right, so far it's working, but it seems like I've hit a wall. As you can see, I'm pressing in the new quick connect on the existing line, and I'm probably like 75 or 80% of the way there. You can see, but it's not 100% pressed on. At this point, it's gotten really difficult to try to press it in. So the instructions do say to heat up the nylon line, but of course you don't want to use a flame here because of the fuel. So I went inside the house and I got a hair blow dryer, and I'm just gonna try to heat up the line a little bit so it softens it, and hopefully we could press in this quick connect all the way in. All right, so I want to call that a success. Look at that, guys, all the way pressed in. Looks really good. So at this point I'm going to make a new hard line coming out of here, going to the rubber hose, and we'll put another clamp on it, and we're going to use the copper line so it won't rot away. This tool right here worked very well. The heat gun does help. You just got to be really careful with it, because if you have too much of the nylon line sticking out past your plate right here and you're heating up that line, whenever you try to press in the new quick connect, it's going to want to kink the line because now the entire line is soft. So you got to really pay attention to where you're applying that heat. By the way, this HHR has turned into an all-day project. See, it's already dark outside. That's not cool. I'm gonna have to go ahead and close the garage door right now because I don't want any freaking raccoons or skunks coming in here. I've been seeing a skunk around here a lot lately. So here goes our 3/8 copper tubing that we're going to be using to make this fuel line. I've already used my tubing cutter right here, or pipe cutter, whatever you want to call it, to cut the tip off so we have something fresh to start with. I use my deburring tool to clean up the ID, and I use the other end of my deburring tool to clean up the OD. And let's go ahead and give this little spritz right here some silicone spray. And here was a fitting similar to the one I just pressed on the car. You can see it's got the 2 O-rings inside of there. So let's just see how this fits. It already feels a nice snug fit, but it should pop in. There it goes. That's gonna seal up nicely, guys. All right, so here we go. Here was our flaring tool, and I've already gone ahead and made the flare. You can see how nice that looks. Okay, so I didn't want to put this on here because I know it's gonna work, but some of you who are watching are probably disappointed if I don't try to test fit this. So spray it a little bit. Here it goes, guys. You heard it pop in. Look at where the flare is sitting, right in its place where it's supposed to be. That thing's locked in perfectly. You know it's gonna work, guys. Come on now. Did you ever doubt me? Here goes pretty much the finish line and all the bends that I put in it. So I put this bend in it, this one, and this one. But I found that this tiny little bend right here, just offsetting it, isn't necessary. It's gonna go directly to the rubber hose. You can see our new quick connect going to the tank. If you look right inside of this little window, you can see the lock is engaged. So we are fully in. I was able to utilize a factory clamp right there, you see it, and I didn't even have to open it up. All I did was I slid the copper tube inside of there before I connected either end, and you can see where the copper tube meets up with the rubber hose. Let's go ahead and try to give it a first startup. Should be all set. Let's just check for leaks. All right, so first of all, let's do our prime. I could hear the fuel pump running. Let's do one more prime. Yay, so far no leaks. Real good. Car started right up with all of its correct fuel pressure. Let's go look underneath the car. Looking really good, guys. I don't see any drips or anything. There is absolutely nothing dripping on the ground. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shut her off. I could already start to smell the exhaust because we're right back here. But it took it pretty good. I'm gonna say that's a fix, guys. Oh God, nothing like exhaust straight to the face, right? It's like never take balls to the face. So that's it. This turned into a all-day project, and this piece of shit has been here for months. So relieved that it's gonna finally leave from here. And I think I'm even happier to know that my mom's gonna get rid of it, and I'm never gonna see this car again. I don't want to see this car again. They have really screwed up this car, those hacks. It's funny because my mom has an idea of who's she gonna sell it to, and the guy said it's fine, he'll take it with the problems that it has still. And she even told him, hey, when you buy the car for me, that's it, you take it to your own mechanic. Don't expect my son to fix the car because he doesn't want to fix this car anymore. So the guy said, all right, no problem. Honestly, I feel like I've done more than enough. We'll see how much the front end has, you know, quieted up. Quieted? Is quieted a word? I have no idea. Let me know in the comment section. And we'll see if the front end isn't making as much noise. That sounds a lot better, right? So I'm still expecting there to be some noise up front. It may still sound like crap, but I'm hoping that with the mount and tightening up these bolts on the subframe, that it made it a little bit quieter to drive. We already know that the brakes feel good. The car stops just fine. So, you know, from doing the struts and the front brakes, so that's all set. So it's now next day, and that tire is still holding air, so that's 2 days already. And the front end, going over bumps and stuff, like I assumed, it's not perfect, but it does sound better. It doesn't sound like everything just clacking around. So it's a little bit better. But unfortunately, I have some bad news for you guys. So I turned on the car this morning, and it's leaking fuel again. So I'm not gonna bother you guys with that. So I took the car back to the garage real fast to look at that fuel leak, and where I put the hose over the copper tubing. I ended up reusing the worm drive clamp, and that wasn't a good idea because it just wasn't sealing. So I took off that worm drive clamp and put on a standard like self-tensioning clamp, a brand new one, and that fixed a leak, allegedly. So all right, so that's it for the HHR, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this crazy video, and let this be a lesson to some people out there that just because you find someone offering the best price doesn't necessarily mean it's your best option. I mean, look how these people really screwed up this car. So the car is driving way better than how it came in. It's not perfect. There's still some clunking going on up front, but you know, with broken subframe bolts that can't be tightened down anymore, what are you gonna do? So it's as good as I could get it. Well, there goes HHR. After it being here for a while, they're finally taking it. And honestly, I know I said I'm never gonna work in this car again, but my mom just told me it's pretty much gonna go to my brother. So as long as someone I know is driving this car, I guarantee you I'm gonna continue to see that piece of crap. The walk of shame. Guess what, guys? It's back. Yep. So apparently that fuel hose leak repair that it only lasted about a week. It started leaking again. They took it to someone else. They did another temporary fix, and then a few days later it started leaking again. So someone else tried to fix it, and it started leaking again. And now it's back. It got towed back. My mom ended up giving the car to my brother. So of course, just my luck, right? I knew she wasn't gonna get rid of it. So my brother needs a car to be more reliable than this thing dumping fuel onto the ground. He's going to need it for like job interviews and just going to work in general. So we have to fix it the right way. No band-aid, none of that stuff. It has to get fixed the right way because I don't want to see this car again for this problem. All right, so I got it up on ramps. We'll slide underneath there and I could already see the gasoline dripping. But I'll tell you one thing, guys, is that front end noise, the subframe not being able to be bolted down or torqued down properly, it actually sounds worse now that they've been driving it around. It sounds really bad. And you got to figure, guys, it would cost so much to fix that. I mean, the whole subframe has to be dropped off this car, auto suspension, and someone's gonna have to start cutting up these things to get to all these captive nuts, start fixing things, cutting things out, and basically it'll turn into more than what the car is worth. What we're trying to do is keep costs down. Okay, this car is bound for the junkyard very soon because of this whole mess going on with the subframe. So let's slide underneath the car. Let's look at this leak. All right, so it looks like my quick connect fitting that I did back here is 100% dry, nothing wrong there. What's leaking is right here. See that clamp? It's got that copper tube going to right there, and then that goes right there. So basically clamps everywhere, right? With all these clamps and tubes and hoses everywhere, there's just too much potential for things to go bad, and that's what's going on here. That's why everyone's chasing their tail, trying to stop this fuel leak when all of this stuff just needs to go. All right, so here's everything I removed from the line on the side of the vehicle, going all the way to the fuel tank, to the line that I made the flare on. All these different connections, 7 clamps in between all this stuff, so you can see all the amount of failure points, and that's why this was just a nightmare to deal with. And I'm actually going to use this. Now, my mom bought this fuel line repair kit for her HHR months ago when this first became an issue, like it started to drip. But the thing is, I believe she bought the wrong kit. I don't think this is for her car specifically, or maybe it's for a different car. I have no idea, because these things just don't match up with what's on this car, especially the external fuel filter. I'm pretty sure this car has a fuel filter built into the inside of the gas tank, you know, part of the fuel pump assembly. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on it, I could be wrong, but I don't see one underneath the car. Anyway, point is simple. We're just going to use this, and I don't know why the hell didn't I think about this before. Like, I went through all that trouble messing with that crap and doing stupid crap like that when the solution was here all along, because I had these parts just sitting right here on top of my toolbox. And if we look at the flare that I made on the end of this copper tube, what do we have here on this gasoline line? Already the flare ready to go. So this is what I'm going to do. This is going to go directly into the gas tank of where we pressed in that quick connect. So it's going to replace this. This line is going to travel all the way to the side of the car, and I think it's a little bit too long, so I may have to shorten something up. I may have to shorten this up right here. You can see it's just pressed in and then they put a clamp on it. So honestly guys, I don't want to mess with this. If I could use this whole line and leave the factory connections that they have here, because you know this is going to be CO 100%, I'd rather not touch it. So I'm going to see what I could do, but if I have to, I'll shorten it up. I'll move the piece of metal somewhere back here, and we'll put a new clamp on it, the same one just like they have here, because they have some of these laying around here. And yeah, so let's go ahead and put this on the car. And this right here is going to be 100 times better than all of this crap right here. All right, so I've got the fuel tank and already connected. The quick connect is plugged in and everything is routed up here, and you can see the line comes down from here. We're gonna have to zip tie it over here, and it's gonna go to this thing. Unfortunately, as you can see, the line is way too long. We have way too much of it, so I am gonna have to cut it. Basically, this is the male end, and I want to get rid of it and put a female end on it, and then we're gonna flare this right here to turn it into the male end. So I hope all of that makes sense. If you're wondering why don't I just use all of the line and go further to the front of the car, well, because if you look at the line, it gets more and more rusty as you go that way. This is like the only good straight and clean piece of line right here to make a flare on it. If you go that way, you're just making your you know, space constraints even worse, and it's just going to be more of a nightmare. This is the ideal place to go to. So the first step is to clean this up, and let's make our flare on it. All right, so here goes our 3/8 quick connect fitting. See how nice and perfect that looks. Now at first I tried cleaning up the metal with some steel wool, and it wasn't really cutting it, so I had to get the Dremel with a small wire wheel on it, and the surface right here, the sealing surface, cleaned up very nicely. And then I grabbed my hydraulic flaring tool, and I made obviously a 3/8 quick connect right here. So there we have it guys. I cut the line to length, I put the quick connect fitting on it, and I even put a clamp on it for good measure, even though it's not really necessary. But yeah, that was pressed into the nylon line, and you can see how this thing is pretty much ready to be buttoned up. And I was able to get the nylon line to go into the factory like tie downs. You can see there's one right here, and the nylon line is clipped inside of it, and there's another one up there, and that one is also clipped in, and then, you know, way back there at the fuel tank. So this thing is 100% buttoned up. As far as the line being secure, I'm just gonna go ahead, connect these two lines together, and then we'll tuck this up so the line isn't sitting so low. You can see I was kind of low right here. And there we have it. I was also able to get it to fall into this factory tie down right here. So you can see that's mounted. So pretty much the new line is mounted in all of the factory tie downs, which is amazing. And you can see how that's connected right there. So everything looks absolutely fantastic. This is how I should have fixed it from the very beginning. Honestly, this was way easier than the mess I went through the first time. So now it's time to put the key in the ignition. Let's prime the system, make sure there's no leaks. We really only have to check 2 points at this point now. The point where it's connected to the gas tank back there, and this connection, because there's nothing else in between. So that's the benefit of not having 7 hose clamps and 5 different lines and hoses connected. The only thing I do have to address is you can see how the nylon line kind of bends up right here, and you can see it's touching like this 90-degree metal part of the body. So that is a rub point. If you don't address it, it is going to end up rubbing through the new line and cause a fuel leak. So I'm gonna have to put something between the metal and the nylon line to stop that from happening. So there we have it. I just grabbed a piece of rubber hose, the one I just took off of the car, and with a slice cut in it, put it over the line and put 2 zip ties to hold it in place. So now it's no longer rubbing on the body of the car. The rubber hose is acting as a insulator. My 2 connections are not leaking. I'm really happy with this repair. I'm satisfied with it. I should have done it like this from the beginning instead of hacking it. I know I'm probably going to lose like 10 subscribers over this after this video, seeing what I did the first time, because people are always on the edge. They see you do one little thing, oh, you're a hack, I'm unsubscribing, and I can agree. What I did the first time, I'm not proud of it, okay? But it did get fixed the right time now. I'm super happy with this repair. No leaks and all of that fixed. We got quick connects on both ends. That's it. It's a done deal. That I can guarantee you, at least that what I did right there is not going to leak. Now, if it springs a leak somewhere else, I can't control that, okay? But as far as my repair, I'm happy with this one. Before we go out for a test drive, I just finished putting air in the front tires because they were both at about 15 psi. The rear ones are good. And remember, this is the one that we put that tire plug in, and it's been absolutely fine. No issues at all ever since I did that, so that's good to see. Here's the test drive. Front end sounds like crap. It's like really noticeable whenever you stop or accelerate, because that front subframe is just like shifting its position, so that sucks. And there's something in the back that's moving around because you can see they tore out all the panels from the interior because they just had to put a brand new battery in this thing. That's literally the subframe shifting as you hit the brakes, so it's throwing the alignment off. And that's why even though you're holding the steering wheel straight, as soon as you hit the brake, it starts to pull to one side after you hear the subframe move. It's a shame because if it weren't for that subframe shifting around like that, the car actually drives pretty smooth. And it's just unfortunate because this thing definitely would have had a lot more life left in it. But I think that subframe issue is going to be the main reason why this thing ends up in the junkyard sooner rather than later. Alright, so the car is still running. And I don't see any leaks, any drips. Everything looks nice and dry. I'm not gonna crawl under the car to check the other one. If it were leaking, we would see something dripping. And it looks completely dry. Guys, so that's a fix. I'm gonna go ahead, call my brother, tell him to come pick it up. So I open up the back door to put all this stuff back together. What is going on back here? That battery's not connected, is it? No, that's weird. Just a battery, random battery sitting right there. Anyway, so look, so signs that people have been trying to fix this fuel leak. Okay, you can see I did not put this here. Yeah, plenty of fuel hose, plenty of clamps everywhere. So I'm glad that it's fixed now. I just talked to my brother and he's like, so you're sure it's 100% like fixed, like for real this time? I told him, yep, it's fixed, so you're not gonna have to worry about that particular problem anymore. You know what I mean? So anyway, let me go ahead and put all this crap back together for him. And then that's a shield for the steering column. I took that off when I was trying to figure out the whole no crank or the intermittent no crank issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that back on, and I'll put all the interior back there, and I'll move this battery and put it like on the floor right here. They could do whatever they want with it. And for some reason the rear trunk doesn't open up. That's unfortunate. This car just just stupid shit. Yes, I've tried the key fob, I tried unlocking the doors, I tried all that. It just doesn't work. And this all kind of makes sense now why it's set up like this. Someone had to jump in through here to get that battery changed out because they can't get the trunk open. And back here I also found the starter that I changed, which realistically the starter is perfectly fine. Remember guys, I told you I changed the starter because my mom said, hey, change the starter. The guy who looked at it said it needs a starter when it was a random like intermittent no crank, right? It turned out to be, like I showed you guys, the ECM wasn't plugged in correctly. That was the root of all the problems. So technically this is a good starter. It's why I told my mom, keep it in the box, don't throw it out, because who knows, you may need it one day. So here it goes. I'm gonna ask him what's going on with this battery. Is this the one that they bought to put in the car, or what's going on with it? So if it's the one they took out and they're gonna return it as a cord charge, they're probably only gonna give him like $10-15 for it. If that's the case, I'll probably buy it off of him. I'm sure the battery's still fine. I bet you if I test it and maybe even put a trickle charger on it, I bet you this battery would be fine. All right, so there we go, guys. Sorry about the glare. You can see it says 8.8 volts. So yeah, this has to be the battery that they pulled out of the car. I got a pretty good feeling that if I were to put this on a trickle charger, this battery would be just fine. So I got this panel put back in place, put the screws back in it, everything's nice and tight. There was a few panels that were out of place, like here and on this side as well. Like you could tell someone's been taking all this stuff apart, maybe because of the radio, but they weren't popped in how they should be. So I had to kind of readjust things and get all the panels to align how they should. It looks a lot better. I cleaned out like loose garbage that he had just thrown around in the car. And with that being said, it's pretty much done. So he said he's on his way right now to come pick it up. And I don't know, man. I don't know what's the next thing that's gonna fail on this car. So I just got off the phone with him, and yeah, this is a battery that came out of the car. He told me if I want it, I could keep it. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's go ahead and put this bad boy on a trickle charger and see if we can bring it back to life. And who knows, it's probably only drained because, I don't know, maybe someone left the headlights on, or, you know, a dome light on or something. It's probably still a good battery. So this is the second day of the battery charging. You can see it's showing 13.3 volts. Do another test. And this time it keeps passing. So it's a 600 coulomb cranking amps, and it keeps giving me about 530, somewhere in that range. And I've done this test like I get 3 or 4 times, and I keep getting the same results. So I don't leave this video on a bad note. Here goes my mom's 2016 Toyota Corolla. She absolutely loves the car. She's had it for a few months now. And she just came over today. We're gonna put front pads and rotors on it, just out of maintenance. And I had her take a drive in a HHR, the way it is right now with all the new parts on it. And she said the car damn near gave her, you know, an anxiety attack because of how crappy it drives. She's like, I can't drive this piece of shit anymore. So she's gotten used to her new Toyota and how smooth and quiet it drives, that she's just done with that HHR. So here goes the new car. It's looking good. I'm glad she finally got rid of American garbage and bought some nice quality Japanese cars, right? So let me go ahead and knock out the brakes on this thing, and it'll be all set. So I'm gonna go ahead and end the video on this. It's a good happy note, I guess. I'm sure some of you would like to see that my mom finally got rid of that piece of crap and she bought a nice Toyota. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.